Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown. And today, for Dear Profiler Pat, I've been asked, should I have sex on my first date? This is a really loaded question, and I want to answer it. And I want to answer it for two different age groups: the young age group, 20 to 30, maybe still in your teens, and the older age group, maybe 50, 60, trying to get back into, dating life. All right. Before I get going, because many people forget by the end of the show, please do subscribe to the channel. You can check out all my Dear Profiler Pats, and I am a crime scene analyst, a criminal profiler. So check all my playlists for all the crimes that I also analyze, which I try to help people understand things logically, which logic goes through our lives, no matter what we're doing. So if you can analyze crimes, you can analyze your life, which might be a crime in itself. Sometimes we wonder. All right. So anyway, please do subscribe, like the video, check my playlist. All right, let's get to this little situation. Should I have sex on my first date? All right, where should I start? Should I start with the older group or the younger group? I'm going to start with the older group because the younger group's a little more tricky. The older group, okay, here's how it works, folks. A lot of women, I'm going to say I'm talking to women. Well, dudes, y'all want to have sex on your first dates. So if you're here and you're like, should I have sex on my first date? Probably if you can get it, you will. Should you? Maybe if you had respect for the woman, the answer should be no. Maybe if you have respect for a woman, you should want to get to know her and not use her because she might be desperate for a companionship or she really likes you. So she'll just go on with the program. So guys, no, you shouldn't have sex on a first date. You should treat your lady like a lady. Be willing to get to know her first. And then when you start establishing a relationship, you all can get into whatever you want to get into. And that doesn't matter what age you are. So guys, that's my answer to you. I know that most of my channel, I have heavy viewership of females. But dudes, 20 years old, 30 years old, 60, 80, I don't care. Respect women and don't expect sex from them. And when they don't give it to you, you're like, I'm done with her, moving on. That's so disrespectful. And it shows me that you aren't interested in a relationship. You're just interested in sex. You just don't want to pay for it. All right. Okay, guys, move the guys aside. Ladies, so you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever you are, the older years, which I'm in, and you would like to have a companion. You would like to have someone in your life that you can share things with. So what do? You might go on some of these sites, Match.com. Hopefully not Tinder, because Tinder is only a one-way street to the street. But anyway, let's say you go on Match.com or Harmony, and you want to find somebody. So you go on there, and you start getting these what are called dates, which are really hookups, but they're considered dates. So you try to present yourself in such a lovely way. You put your best picture that is photoshopped on the site, and so that the guy will like you, and you're hoping you'll get a guy your age, because most guys will date at that age, 20 years younger if they can get it, and they often can get it. So here you are, you're 50 or 60, and you're looking for a guy, and you're like, okay, 70, 80. All right, if he's really a nice guy, I'm okay with that. I want companionship. I want to have someone I can spend time with, maybe travel with. It's all great. So you put your little profile up and you get boom, 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 little hearts and whatever they do to, hey, I'm interested. You start going out on dates. What happens? You go out on that first date and the guy wants sex immediately. And it's like, no, we're finished with dinner. Can we have sex now? And you're like, oh, I want the guy to give me a second date. So many women, and I'm telling you, I know this from fact, most women will go ahead and have sex with that guy. Doesn't matter if he's 20 years old or can't get it up. You have to be a vacuum machine, whatever. You'll do it because you want the second date. My God, I want the second date. And guess what? A lot of times he doesn't call you back for the second date. You know why? Because he's got a line of women. Yeah, he could be 70 and fat and unappealing. He still has a line of women who are really would just love to have somebody to share their life with. And that guy will go online and he will date and date and date and date one time. If he gets sex, he's happy. If he doesn't get sex, he'll never call for the second date. Now, so how does that second date happen? I'm going to tell you. What happens is let's say this guy connects with 20 women. Let's say 7 of the women won't have sex on the first date. They're swept out the door. He's got 13 left. Okay, so now he's got 13. All 13 have sex with him on the first date. But, most of them, although he has sex with them, they're not that appealing to him. Their personalities don't really jibe with his. So most of those women he tosses out the door. But it's a couple women that he kind of likes. After the sex, he sort of liked the personalities. So he gives them a second date. And then they have that second date. And then he says, okay, I like this one better than that one. So he boots that one out the door. Maybe, just maybe, if you're that lucky woman who's kissed enough frogs to get a prince, if you think a prince is a guy who has sex with 20 women before he chooses you, well, okay. But then he chooses you. So, hey, I'm the winner. So then you go on and he sees you more and more and you have more sex and he likes you enough. And one day you get married and you tell the community, oh my God, I met my guy on Match.com. And every woman thinks, oh my God, if I go to Match.com, that's me. I want to ask that woman, the one woman who got that guy, did you sleep with him on the first date? And did you just be the lucky one out of 20? Because I'm going to say this, maybe I'm wrong to say this, but I'm thinking that a guy who sleeps with 20 women has disrespect for 19 of them, and probably for you too. But maybe whatever reasons you did click personality wise at some point, and he does like you. So you go on into the sunset. That's just so sweet. So do I recommend you have sex on the first date? Okay. It just makes me laugh because, oh my God. So here's the thing that just really kind of makes me pissed off. So I remember one time I was working in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I was working on TV, and I went over to the hotel next door between my two different programs, and I was having a drink, and this fellow sat down next to me, and we started chatting, and we were in the same field, criminal justice. So I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. And he looks over at me and he said, hey, I want to meet you, next time I come to town. I'm like, oh, because I was only in my late 40s then, so I thought I had a chance. I was recently divorced. I'm thinking, oh, okay. So he came back into town like 2 weeks later, and one of my shows happened, and we met at the bar. And I'm thinking we're going to have just chat. And he looks he buys me a drink. It was $9. I remember it was a $9 drink. It was a wine. It wasn't the best wine. $9. Okay. Anyway, I got the wine, and we're sitting there having a drink. And he looks over at me. And he goes, shows me his key, and he goes, I'm in room 333. And I looked at him and I said, dude, you're not George Clooney, and I'm not a crack hoe. You pay $9 for my drink. So seriously, dude. And I walked out because I'm like, I know I'm not hot at my age. I recognize that fact. I used to look like this, in which case I'm thinking any guy would throw himself at my feet. But anyway, I look like this now. I'm not stupid. I'm 68. I know what I look like. So I believe that at that time, I was in my 40s. I actually looked pretty good. I was 135 pounds. So I was looking way better, and I had makeup and hair from the channel. But this guy was an older guy, and he was balding and had a little tummy. And I'm like, dude, you're not George Clooney. It's like, you think I'm just going to jump into bed with you because what? I'm desperate? And that's what he thought. And now I'm 68. So I'm pretty sure that guys aren't falling at my feet. So if you're an older woman, guys will think you're easy because you're desperate. And they will treat you like a prostitute. Only you won't make $100 or $200 an hour. You will get zip, and they will dump you. And I think to put yourself in that situation, it's insulting. So one time after, I've been divorced for 20 years. And I've not remarried, and I've not had a relationship since. Somebody I've been with, I just never found anybody. At one time I did try those dating sites. And when I tried them, I put my stuff out, information out there, and I met them, and immediately they wanted sex. And I said no, and I never saw them again. And then I put out a new profile which said, I will not have sex with you unless we're in an actual relationship. Pretty much nobody contacted me after that. That goes to show you what they're in for. The guys want sex. They want to use you as a prostitute, but they don't want to pay you. In old terms that, at least I don't know if I'll get, knocked off of YouTube for this, but a whore usually gets paid. A hooker usually gets paid, but a slut does not. And when a man treats you like a slut, you should walk away from that. I'm sorry. I'd rather be alone. I'm just going to say it. I'd rather be alone than be with a man who thinks that that's what I'm worth, or not even worth anything. My God, at least give me the $200. But no, you'd want it for free. That's insulting. Women, stop letting yourself be insulted. Could you be the one woman in the 20 after the guy dates everybody else in town, and has sex with everybody, that you're the one who gets locked out? Well, I guess you could be, but I find it insulting. And I'm thinking, I don't want to be with that guy. So maybe you're just lowering your standards a whole hell of a lot and believing what you believe, but I don't want to be with a guy who treats women like that. I want to be with a man who's respectful. All right. So now let me go to the 20-year-olds, if you're still here. 20, 30. Should I have sex on a first date? Same thing. What does a young man want? What does a 20-year-old man want? A 30-year-old man want? They like sex. And here you are, you're out on your first date, and he's got the hormones going. You've got the hormones going. So way better. When you're younger, you got hormones. When you're older, you're like, not so much. Anyway, enjoy while you can. But you're out with this guy, and you're like, not so sure about him. But you're like, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't judge him. Okay, you're not really into him. Maybe you should judge him. Maybe there's a reason you're not into him. But okay, now we're like back at his place, and we've had a few drinks, and maybe I shouldn't judge him. And you want sex, so I'm on the pill, so what the hell? I'll go ahead. So you go ahead and have sex with this guy. And it sucks. Really, because, it's kind of funny because everybody thinks that young people having sex is always hot and wonderful and great. A lot of people have sex when they're young. Quite frankly, it's not a great experience. Like the guy, for females, the guy you're having sex with isn't very good at what he does. And afterwards, you got to go, I feel like I got taken advantage of because that really wasn't very pleasant. And I didn't get anything out of it. And this guy's like, oh, thanks, babes. And then you may not get the second date anyway because he just got what he wanted. But you did it because you were hoping to get a second date, because you were hoping to establish a relationship, because even 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds want to have somebody in their lives. They go ahead and do what they're not comfortable doing in order to get there. You are prostituting yourself. Just understand that. But the worst problem is you don't even make money from prostituting. You just get nothing out of it. He uses you, you go home, and that's the end of it. Whether it's, he might call you again, but at that point you're like, dude, you suck in the sack. So I don't want to be with you. You're not even like, hey, it wasn't even worth it. So you just kind of say, well, that was a bad experience, and you brush it off and you go on. And how many men do you have sex with before you finally kiss that frog that turns into a prince? Why do women always have to kiss the freaking frogs? That's what I want to know. Because when men have sex with women, they don't care if they're frogs because they still get the sex part out of it, and then they just squash them, right? But you're looking for something more. It's just the way things work with female thinking, and you want something more, and you're like, why did this go the way it goes? Why do I always feel like dirt after I had this sexual encounter? It's because it wasn't worth having that sexual encounter. He wasn't any good, and he's even a guy you even really liked. Sometimes you're embarrassed you even went with him. You're like, yeah, man, I don't tell anybody about this experience. Now, are there moments with your young hormones where, you meet a guy, you're at the beach, and this guy walks up to you, and he's got a chest. He's a good-looking dude. Your hormones go crazy, and you go and have a night of wild sex. And you go home happy because it was good. Am I denying you that right? No, I'm not denying you that right. If what you're there for, okay, I'm putting morals aside. So if you're a particularly religious person, you have morals, that say you should not have sex outside of marriage. You shouldn't have just sex with some dude on the beach. I understand that and respect that. I'm just talking to the people that do this. What I want to say is that I understand where if hormones get the best of you and you're attracted to a person who is George Clooney Jr., okay, I get it. You are having a good time for yourself. You're not just having sex with him on stupid hopes that this will turn into something. If you just want to have your sexual encounter, I'm not going to get involved with your morals, okay? I'm not. But if you think that if you're having sex with somebody just to hope that you get something in the future, I'm against that. And I think you should be against that. That means that you are giving yourself to that person for all the wrong reasons. This isn't a person you love. This isn't even a person you're necessarily attracted to. This is just a person that they want what they want to have sex. And you're like, man, if I don't have sex, he'll dump me. Well, if he's the kind of guy who will dump you because you don't have sex, good. Let him dump you. And as a last comment on this, I'm just going to tell you this one little story before I end, because I was shocked with this one. So I was over at Fox Studios in Washington, D.C. I was in the elevator and I met this 4-star general who was on Greta Van Susteren. I'm not going to give his name, but there are only 2 of them, so it was one of them. Anyway, he was definitely 10, 12 years older than me, whatever he was, a retired general. And we had a chit chat in the elevator and it was lovely. And he said, hey, after the show, you want to go have a drink? And I'm like, cool. So we did our shows. We did separate shows. And afterwards we went and had that drink. And he was fascinating. Oh my God. He was a brilliant man. He traveled around the world. And we both did television. We had so much in common. I'm thinking, okay, the guy's 10, 12, 15 years old or whatever he was than me, but he's still in good shape. And I'm like, hey, I'm hitting 50 now. Hey, I'm going to not be overly picky. If I can have somebody I can have a great time with, cool. So he said, how about we meet next week and we go out? And he said, I think he lived near the Watergate. I don't know if he lived in the Watergate or near the Watergate. I can't remember, but it was in a really nice place. Anyway, he said, why don't you come to DC? Come to my place. And from our place, we'll take a long walk, because he knew I liked to walk and he liked to walk. And that meant he was in good shape. So we would walk through DC for a long time, just enjoying the sights. And then he said, I'll take you to the Portrait Museum. And then we'll see after that. We'll have a little dinner and whatever. I'm like, this is pretty cool. What a nice day out. I went there. I met him. We walked. Oh my God, we walked for like 2 hours or whatever, 3 hours. It was great. We went to the Portrait Museum. That man was brilliant. I mean, he could actually look at portraits and tell me what the artist was all about. He knew the artist. I was impressed. I mean, I'm like, this is fantastic. This is a military man who also knows art. I'm thinking, my ship has come in. My ship has finally come in. And after that, we went to a Spanish tapas place. We sat outside in a cafe and we drank wine and it was just fabulous. I mean, just amazing. And then we walked back to his condo and he said, how about a coffee? And of course, a coffee. So I went up to his condo, he got a coffee. And then he said to me, how you meet somebody and immediately the sparks fly? And I said, well, yes, but I'm always of the belief that even if I'm really interested, I want to get to know that person a little bit more. He chugged the coffee, ushered me out the door, and I never heard from him again. I was floored. I'm like, here you are, a man who's that much older than me. We have a lot in common. You couldn't give me a freaking second date? I mean, maybe, I don't care if you're sleeping with other women. Just if you've got your little ladies out there, but I couldn't get a second date with you? I wasn't worth a second date because I didn't sleep with you that night? I dodged a bullet. And I'm going to tell you, ladies, if you're with a man when you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, I don't care how old you are. If a man doesn't respect you enough to wait, you dodged a bullet. Okay, that's my thoughts on this. I hope you enjoyed this, Dear Profiler Pat. If you have other questions for me, please do send them to profilerpatbrown@gmail.com and put Dear Profiler Pat in the subject line and see if I can then address the issue. Amazing, isn't it? I mean, it's just, sometimes it just floors me the way life works. But I want to tell you this also on the way up. I'm now 68. I've been unmarried for 20 years. My ex is now on his third wife. Do I wish I had a companion? The right one, yes. The wrong one, no. Because I have a great life. I have a great life. I have family, I have friends, I have travel, I have my work. I'm not willing to just lower my standards so low that I'll take anything that comes along because I'm desperate. Because I want to tell you, ladies, never be desperate because you're worth more than being desperate. Thank you for being here. And again, like and subscribe to my channel. Bye.